JT, we are back. Week
Yes, sir.
7. Week 7, we are back. Happy Father's Day to you, brother. How
Thank
did
you.
you go with
Thank
your
you.
daughter?
Man, everything went smooth, man. Yeah, yeah. How was your weekend? How was everything your way?
It was good. It was raining. My roof. So one thing about home ownership, guys, it's all on you. The equity and the repairs. So had some roof damage. So the appraisal inspector people came out today. So hopefully we get that resolved. Because it's been raining here and that roof was tanking. So man, but we're still here. Happy to have shelter. Happy to be here with you. But I was pissed off last week, JT.
What happened last week?
I take pride in integrity,
Mm-hmm.
not being perfect, because I'm not, but I take pride in integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody, first of all, low products, generally speaking, for any issue I've had with a purchaser, it's been on a lower price point. That
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that people who buy lower price points are bad people. Doesn't mean anything about everybody. But I have seen a commonality.
Yep.
I think this, you tell me what you think. I think that some people who buy at a lower price point, they feel they're doing you a favor rather than it being a mutual exchange of value. So one of them was $17, which I got rid of right after that. $17 subscription. There was an issue with the site, out of my control software issue. Uh, they don't email me, which I would have done personally. I just would have sent an email, hey, there's something wrong with the site. I signed up, yada, yada. All right.
Mhm.
Put a message in on the portal. I don't feel this is trustworthy. I don't know what's going on. I haven't been able to answer. I want a refund. And I called my bank and blocked future payments. Now, I think that's extreme.
Mhm.
When there's actually no email, but hey, I said, okay, no problem, issued the refund and said, well, we've had over $45 million earned in our community. Here goes testimonials, multiple. You can't fake 10 years, JT. You can fake a good 6 months,
Mhm.
maybe 18, but you can't fake 10 years.
Yep.
All right, so did that, and I said, here go. So to answer your integrity questions, here go people who have joined our communities. You can go watch the videos, and also it's hard to lie in videos as well. You can get a flyer made up, but videos stuff. Sent that, done with that. So issued the refund. She files a dispute. I said, I issued you the refund.
Yeah.
But Square had blocked the dispute because it shows you issue. So that pissed me off. And I said, I'm getting rid of this whole program because being cheap brings this kind of. I know you don't curse, so I won't curse, but I would have cursed right here. Second thing, somebody had bought something. I was literally, so not everybody is technologically advanced. Some people just flat out are very disorganized. They don't know where to find stuff. They have too much going on. They have 50 tabs open on their computer and they can't figure out stuff. It's hard for them. No
Mhm.
shame in that. I'm helping. I have a backup portal too because I take so much pride in making sure things flow. I have a backup portal, whole other platform that I pay for just in case someone has a problem. She couldn't figure out how to log into the main one. I said, cool, resent it 2 or 3 times. I said, all right, give me a new email address. I'll add you to the other one. I don't have the email address. All right, I'm gonna add you to the back. Here goes the login. You don't have to sign up. Here goes the login. She can't figure it out. Then she says, I hope you can restore my faith if I feel like I'm being scammed. I'm like, lady, it's 200 effing dollars.
Mhm.
I made $1 million.
Yep.
And you think I want to take your 200 effing dollars? Take your money back and have a good day.
Yep.
I didn't say effing, but I said I made a million. And I said, you know what, Dre? I have a lot of data here. Why am I doing this to myself? Because it only happens at a certain price point. I'm literally helping her figure it out. This doesn't work. And I feel insulted, JC, because it's not like I'm ignoring the messages.
Mhm.
It's not like I said, go look in your email, call me later. No, I asked, are you in? What's going on? And she says, being disorganized is one thing, but you blaming um, me for your lack of organization and your lack of computer skills, that's insulting. So yeah, long rant. What's your thoughts on what I said?
Man, I would definitely say taking the other side a little bit. I don't think it's the product. I think it's the people that you targeting, and it might be the framing or like how you describe it. So,
Mm.
we sell a lot of, and I even teach my mentees to create and sell ebooks, audio books, even physical books as like low ticket. Here's a sample of the value that I can provide if you want to work with me on a higher level. So I do think that if you don't do any framing, or if you, and for the viewer, the listener watching it, framing is basically the picture you paint in the buyer's mind before, during, and after the purchase. So for example, right, I could sell you a book for $10 to $100, but if I tell you like, hey, look, there are 4 steps to becoming a millionaire, right? Here's step one. You don't need anybody to teach you this, but if you wanted the consolidated guide, here it is right here for $10. And then after you get the right information, then you're prepared to come work with me. And I help my students, my whatever, go on to make 10, 20, 30, 50,000 a month, right? So I think definitely being clear on the fact that, hey, the price isn't the value of something, because a lot of people think that the price of it is the value of it, right? So for example, just using a prop that I have handy, so this lens, when I bought it, I don't know, it's probably cheaper now, but when I bought it, it was $800. Now it didn't come with any camera at all. It was just what you see in a box, right? So a lens with no camera was $800. Now, somebody might say that's a complete waste of money. Why would you buy just the lens without a camera for $800? Well, for me, as a content creator that understands that video content converts the best, this lens can make me over $100,000 a year. Now, the price of it was 800. The value of it is over 100,000. And I think
Mm.
that no matter if you're selling t-shirts, ebooks, communities, food, whatever it is, making sure that the person buying it understands that the utility of it, the use case of it, greatly exceeds the price point I attach to it. And if you don't agree with that, you shouldn't buy it at any price point, is what I do. So I've even had people come to me and say, hey, look, I got just enough money to get into your mentorship program, but I need you to guarantee that I'll be successful. And I'll tell them you shouldn't join the
No way.
program. Yeah,
Don't join. No.
yeah, you shouldn't join the program, because one thing you have to understand is that success is on you more than it's on me. I'm responsible for giving you the right information, maybe some other resources as well that can make it easier for you, but I can't live your life for you. So you're going to have to do the action, and I commit that I'm going to give you the right answers and whatever other tools along the way I can that can help you get that result. But ultimately, if you're not the right person to get the result, it doesn't matter. So I definitely would say framing and or targeting a different group of people. But if you think that the product was a bad product, it was, you should discontinue it. But I would say
No,
that
no, it wasn't a bad product. They couldn't even log in.
oh yeah,
The
yeah,
product is, I don't have bad products.
yeah,
I only have great, no, no. And I'm not saying this out of ego. I'm saying out of reviews.
yeah.
I don't sell bad work. If it's a bad product, and here goes my definition of a bad product, JT. Under 90% satisfaction.
Oh yeah,
So I have a
a
very
high
high
standard. Yeah,
barrier.
yeah,
I have a very high barrier for my rate. So if 100 people sign up for a 5-day challenge and I get over 10 bad reviews, chargebacks combined, and out of the 100, 89 people have a bad experience, I'm going to cancel the whole thing.
well, how do you feel about this concept that's going around where people say you got to divorce yourself from the outcome? Do you agree with that? Disagree with that? Where like if you told somebody the right answer, you gave them all of the resources, they just wasn't able to execute on it. Is that your fault or is that their fault?
So I'm a bit of a, I'm not a street tough guy, but I have a
Yeah.
tough guy energy at times. I also have a very empathetic energy. I had to get the balance. I had to get good at that because if I do my job and you don't do yours, There was a time where I felt like crap. I'm like, damn, like, why didn't they do this? But then I said, well, he did it and she did it and she did it. They didn't. So it's on them. So
Mm,
as long as I am maximizing myself, I'm at peace if they don't follow through. It does take some of the fun out of it when they don't follow through. It kind of sucks some of the joy out of it per se. But I do agree with that to an extent. Yeah, yeah. Because we can't control the other people, bro.
yep.
I can't make you cold call. I can
Yep.
cold call with you on the phone, but I can't make you do it when I'm not around.
Hmm.
So yeah. Uh, what's your thoughts on this? The streets are a myth. Are the streets a myth? Is there money to be made in the street? Are you in the streets, JT?
Not at all, man. Not at all. Right. So the funny thing about it though is that growing up as a kid, I thought my mom was one of the meanest ladies on earth. She had all of these rules. Take out the trash, clean your room, cut the grass. Ah, man, this lady's a crazy lady, right? And I later realized that she was really trying to one, teach me how to be a responsible adult. Two, the other side of my family wasn't so churchy, right? My mom was big time in the church. My uncle, to my knowledge, was the first millionaire in our family, and he got it
Mm,
from selling illegal substances to people, right? And he had it's a whole story behind it as well. Funny story too. He was like they should make a movie about my uncle's life. Like he quick side tangent. He did it out of a mail truck because he wanted to be invisible and who could go anywhere and nobody thinks that it's unusual for them to be there, whether it's the hood, the gated community, or whatever. It's the mailman, right? So a mailman is basically an invisible person. They don't look out of place no matter where they are. It's like, oh yeah, you just getting the mail delivered, right? So he actually did that long time ago out of the mail truck, made $1 million, got incarcerated, lost all the money. And then I had an uncle that did it on the legal side as well, working a 9 to 5 job. Matter of fact, saved up $1 million during his 40-year career. Right. So I think from firsthand, not firsthand experience, but from whatever hand you would call it with me talking to my uncle, my cousins, my relatives that did it for many years, right? I never did it. That especially in the age of social media, especially in the age of AI, it doesn't make sense. Like so I had this conversation with my cousin. Maybe the viewer here would have different numbers. So I know the prices of things vary location to location. But if we can just get down to the nitty gritty, I know high level to oversimplify it. If somebody was going to sell marijuana, the people that I know that used to do this allegedly, I think the statute of limitation is up, but they could expect to on the low end double their money. Right. So if they're going to spend $100, they'll make 200. They spend 10,000, they want to make 20,000. Right. If they wanted to do, cocaine or crack or anything like that, right, they would on the low end expect to at least triple their money. Now, some people they grind it out, they blah 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 blah. People say 610, 50x, depending on how you do it, right? All right. Now with the new drugs that's out there, right? The fentanyl, you hear people saying that they could easily, on the low end, like 10x they return on investment, right? So okay, the allure was back when there were physical gatekeepers. You're in a low income environment. You in the projects, the trailer park, whatever the hood looks like nearest you, right? Nobody is going to give you a job paying you a large amount of money. Nobody's going to give you a job that's going to pay you every single day. But because they know you, you have what we call on the business side like, know, and trust, right? The neighborhood people, right? They know you, they know your family, they know you stay in apartment D, right? In this building right here. So they'll give you an opportunity. They might even give you something for free and say, bring me back this much money, you keep the profit. Now, check this out, right? So if they give you $100 worth of something, all right, you could go make $200 off of it, $300 off of it, or $1,000 off of it, right? They're still gonna ask for probably 70 to 80% of that money back when you come back, right? So you're not just gonna go give them back $100 worth because why would they do that for you, right? that night. They're in business as well. So you're still going to lose 70 to 80% of whatever it is. So they gave you wholesale $100 worth of something. You were an excellent street hustler. You went and made 1,000 out of that $100 worth of stuff, right? Okay, you bring them back $800. You have made $200. Now you took on the majority of the liability, the majority of the risk, right? Risk your life, your health, everything to have $200. All right. And let's say you really good and you made that in a weekend or less. But let's say in a weekend you flip $100 that you got for free to $1,000. In the age of Chat GPT, you can make an ebook that even if you have the $20 subscription, I know this because we did the math, right? If you have the $20 a month subscription and you write an ebook the right way, it should take 20 minutes or less, right? You have less than a penny invested in that ebook, right? Out of the $20 per month that you're paying, right? And what we do is we're generating $2,000 or more within that same time frame, within a weekend or less, right? So I can turn a penny to over $2,000. I ain't leave my house. I leverage social media. If you tell the police I'm selling an ebook, they say we don't care, right? Unless he's confessing to a crime or committing a crime, we don't care, right? So to me, the streets is a fallacy, right? It doesn't even make sense anymore. Now, not to justify it, there was a time where mama needed help with the bills. I had to put food on the table. I needed quick money. This was my only means to get quick money. And some people saw that as the only alternative. Now, if you want to be in the streets, it's because of lifestyle. You want somebody to like treat you a certain way. But man, the top influencers, you could live the same lifestyle as like a street hustler or a rapper if you just want the image. But yeah, I think it's definitely dead. It doesn't make sense. Um, yeah, your only limitation is your imagination. I've helped people grow from 200 followers to over 100,000 followers on Instagram in less than 2 months. And now I just got off the phone before jumping on this call with Dre, right? That person made $700 today. And within the last 24 hours, they made $700 off of an Instagram account that's absolutely free. Many of you all watching it got a Instagram account and you don't pay nothing for yours too. They made $700 within the last 24 hours off of their free Instagram account.
Whew. And let's, you know what, JT, let's show some data
All
on
right.
another reason why it literally makes no sense. All right.
Yeah.
So we're logged into one of my portals. Do you see, okay, $443? That's actually books.
Mhm.
All right, let's get to the big numbers. All right, 1,000 sales. How much money is that, KT? Right.
$98,103.70.
All right, 533 sales. How much is that?
$58,159.79.
All right, one more.
Refresh the screen, Dre, so they know this ain't a screenshot, this ain't Photoshop.
You gotta tell me twice. All right, how much is this?
959 sales, $125,851.91.
All right, so we're gonna add all this up. We're at 284,000 gross and change.
Yep.
Or $4,500 in sales, and that's not it. Let's get more detail because I'm all about. I don't tell people, hey, just trust me, verify, then trust. So here we have it. Unfortunately, when people have a good experience, they don't always leave reviews. So it kind of is what it is. But here we have it: 44 ratings, 96% 5 stars,
Yep.
2% 4 stars, 2% 1 star. Hey, it's a win. Now, I'm doing those for a few reasons. One, to tie back to what I said earlier. Two, drug dealers aren't making this kind of money.
Yep.
No,
not being truthful. Yeah, being truthful. Yeah.
Very few drug dealers. So there was a study, JT. They said that most drug dealers would make more money working at McDonald's full time.
Yeah. Now they'll lie, of course. Like, so they'll lie and say, I'm gonna sell this and make this and make that. But yeah, it
Very few
makes
do.
yeah.
So
It,
I
it,
look at
it,
the
and even if they think about it, right? Like, let's say a drug dealer really said, I could make $1,000 a day or more, right? Okay, at what point do you not turn that money into a legitimate cash flow where you can make the same money with less headache and less risk? Because you can
very
make
few
a
do.
thousand dollars a day in business. At what point in time do they go invest in a media brand and grow that out and start doing events and blah 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 blah, right? So who just willfully takes on literally life or death risk every single day when they can make the same money easier with less risk? It doesn't even make sense.
Very few people are also going to do the transition part because street life becomes addictive. So let's use some data here. So some loose data. So you
Yep.
and I both know a lot of people who have made $1 million, whether in cash or net worth. I
Yep.
tend to give things 3 to 5 years or a decade. I tend not to look at things as tomorrow, today, because it's just because life happens, you get frustrated, and then you quit. But if you look at it longer term, you generally have roadway, more of a runway for success.
Yep.
10 years. Let's do 10 years. If you get three 2 to 4 unit properties, FHA, conventional, refi, cash out, all that stuff, right? So let's say you got a property, 3 properties, you get them all for 400,000. 10 years later, they're all worth $600,000 to $700,000, and let's say that you've made 3,000, $2,000 a month in rental income over the course of the 10 years, or after you got the properties, right? So you're up just equity wise to for at least $600,000 to $700,000 in a decade, right?
Mhm.
These are very fair numbers. This isn't it didn't triple or quadruple in value. Moderate returns, all right? $600,000 in equity. Let's say over that time you pocketed 36, you pocketed 150 net in rental income. Right, so now we're at $750,000 on a low end in a 10-year time frame. Also, what you did is you worked your 9 to 5. You didn't make a ton of money there, but it was enough to get by. You didn't
Mhm.
get a fancy car because you knew in 10 years you wanted to retire. But every year you maxed out your Roth IRA. Now your IRA is up 150, 125, 150 in that 10-year time period. Also, you holler at brother Chris, you got your stock options game up. You got 200,000 in the stock market. Conservative number, stock market game. So now here you have it. 750 in rental income and equity, 200 in the stock market with the options, 150 with the IRA. You now have a net worth of over $1 million. You
Mhm.
can sell those properties, go to Jamaica, go to Bahamas with you,
Mhm.
and live for the rest of your life
Mhm.
chilling, all within a decade. Rather than if you move to work, if it's your second, most drug dealers don't quit. So you got probation the first time, you got caught again. Now you got to serve 4 to 6 years. Now you've lost everything, and when you get out, you have no IRA, no assets, no nothing. And these are conservative ass numbers. You can get a job at UPS, drive, and do everything I just said. There are so
Mhm.
many ways to make money, JT. If you give yourself long enough, what's your thoughts?
Oh, for sure. Yep. And 10 years is like the super conservative way,
I'm
right?
going conservative, bro.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
going.
yeah.
I'm going
Like
conservative.
I think the allure of it is that people think that fast money has to be illegal.
Mm.
There's a great book that talks about this and a lot of other great principles called lean marketing, but I'll give you guys the short version of it. So it talks about a principle of you can make money like the have nots or you can make money like the have a yachts, right? Now whether you want to have a yacht or not is up to you, but the have a yachts make money off of assets, the have nots make money off of labor. So what you can do, right? Let's say that you are out there and you super tough street dude, you got a bunch of money in the streets. Probably don't, but there's 1% or less chance that that's you, right? So, okay, why not invest in a cash heavy business, right? These are restaurants, these are daycare centers, these are construction companies, right? And you could go legit and make the same money or more perfectly legitly. And I know plumbers that have no interest in doing social media. All of their marketing comes from Google ads and having great reviews on their Google business page. They do $500,000 a year as a residential and commercial plumber, right?
Hmm.
Now, all right, because part of the allure of being in the streets is you can dress in the nicest designer and this and that, and you don't want to go, play with toilets all day. Cool, own the business. You can own a plumbing company. You can own a construction company. I own a daycare center. I have never changed a diaper. I might have changed my daughter's diaper twice, and she's 7 now. So, like, you don't have to change a diaper, right? So I'm like, man, for sure, right? It just doesn't make sense. I think what it is it's a lack of self-confidence, right? People believe that I can do this because I seen Pookie do it, I seen Cornbread do it, I seen all these hood dudes do it, and they were successful and they wasn't that smart. They didn't even graduate high school. When I start hearing people talk about artificial intelligence, you got to be smart. Social media, you got to be smart. Notary, you got to be smart. That's a lot of work. That's harder than me picking this up at point A and taking it to point B and getting a check for it. Well, if we think about it, picking it up at point A, dropping it off at point B is a mobile notary, is an independent courier, right?
Yep.
Is all these other businesses as well where it's the same concept, and they just have to tap in with somebody like yourself or me that can show them like, hey, look, here's how you could transition into going to legit, whether you got money or don't have money. And the biggest mistake that keep a lot of people poor is that they're so afraid to start over, they'll never be great.
Woo! Hold on. They are so afraid to start over. Why?
Yep, because my humble opinion, man, they don't believe in God like they say they do. They lying to themselves.
Wait.
They don't have an abundance mindset. So to me, an abundance mindset is everything that God blessed me with now, He has the ability to bless me with all of this and more in the future. So, for example, I'm in my media house. This is one of 8 properties that I own. If I had to sell this property to save my mom, my daughter, my own life, whatever, right? I would sell this property no problem, right? I'm not worried about, ah man, like I own 8 properties free and clear, no debt. I might not never have an opportunity again in my life to buy this many properties with no and have no debt. I just need to try to do everything in my power to keep what I got. No, if God bless me with 8 properties free and clear with no debt, He can bless me with 80, 800, 8,000, right? So same thing. Let's say somebody watching this, they've been working a 9 to 5 job for the past 40 plus years. So you've been in the job environment 40 something years. You a newborn baby in the entrepreneurship, and maybe you was getting paid 75,000, 80, 90,000 a year on your 9 to 5 job. But in business, don't nobody care what your job description was, right? All they care about is value that you bring to the marketplace. So either you have to learn and apply that value, or you got to leverage somebody else's value, but you can't expect for most people day one to have the same success you work 40 years for in the job environment to have that day one in the business environment, with the only exception being if you have large amounts of capital, you can invest in franchises, mentorships, other systems that can help you get there faster, but the average person doesn't have that to do it.
Mm. Don't be afraid to start over.
Oh,
And
for sure.
I don't want to go back to the numbers, JT, because you and I both like tangible numbers. So this is my man Gene here. Gene was in my program. He was in the army actually. While he was studying, he got out, and this is a conservative number. And now he actually has his own online academy too. Shout out to my man Gene. He's in the DMV area. So at the time I put the testimony up, it was $200,000 he made from just performing 2 services: mobile fingerprinting, which is actually a great business, and loan close, 200K. So let's go back to the how can you work, how can you give yourself the ability to be rich, aka and not have to work forever. Let's say Gene, he has his army money. He spent some money, but he saved $75,000 out of the 200K. Right? He used the VA loan. He got a duplex with the VA loan. He got a conventional or hard money. He didn't have to put any money down for the VA loan. He used 20,000 for renovations and maybe some closing costs, what have you. So he has about 45, $50,000 left over. He used a hard money loan to now go buy a 3 unit. So the house the first house he bought, he lives in, he pays no money. He actually makes $500 a month because of the tenants. They pay everything, and he makes $500 a month profit that goes to the bank. Now, the next property he does some Airbnb, some long-term rentals, some nursing program rentals, and he makes $2,200 a month. So now he's at 22 plus five, that's 27, plus the appreciations, plus he's going to raise rents every year. So let's even say 18 months from then, takes a $2,700 a month and he pushes that to $3,500 a month. He now has $3,500 a month, his army pension and retirement account, and the Northern money coming in. Now he has the option to never work again if he keeps his debt low.
Yep.
Never work again. No drugs.
Yep.
No street activity.
And financially free. Yeah.
Peace of mind.
Yep.
I'm telling you guys, if you guys who are watching this, hear me out on this one. If you have an issue with delayed gratification, this episode, I'm called delayed gratification. And it's not a long time, 3, 5, 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
You have a hope. You could file Chapter 7 today and have a mortgage in a year. Right?
Yep.
Tangible numbers. JT, what you working on this week?
Yep, man. So we talked about a little bit offline. I personally decided to I'm going back debt free, man. There's a lot of great people out there that make more money than me, and they really believe heavy on leverage and credit. And to be honest, I tried it for a couple of years, and to me, it wasn't for me. So I already sent a $40,000 wire to or
Wow.
transfer to American Express, get them done. Got a little bit less than that. I'm about to send a Discover after this call and be done with them. And I'm going back to what works for me, right? So what works for me is let's get rich off of sales. Not knocking anybody else, but I see it's a trend going on online. They rich off credit, they rich off funding, they rich off this, right? Let's start a movement where we rich off sales, right? Because you can go get credit and you have to pay that money back. But what if we get rich off sales because we learn how to obsess over what our customers need and then sell that perpetually over and over and over again? And something that I said previously that I want to reiterate here too is that if you don't know the path forward, you selfish, right? What do I mean by that? It's like you don't got to get rich on your own. Dre don't got to make 200. Dre showed us almost $300,000 in this episode, right? Dre didn't go out and set up a lemonade stand or something like that and was like, man, I'm gonna just sell this commodity, right? Dre went and changed the lives, helped people create six-figure, multi-six-figure, even seven-figure businesses. And because he served them and helped them get the result that they wanted for whatever reason they wanted, Dre benefit from that as well. So stop thinking of I don't like commodity businesses where you're just selling something at a little bit cheaper or a little bit more expensive than somebody else. I think anything you do, you should build a brand. The most valuable
Wow.
part of a brand is that it allows you to charge more for something than what the commodity value of that thing is. All right. So, for example, you could go get a laptop today for probably $200 to $300. All right. Maybe even cheaper on Facebook Marketplace or whatever. But if you want a brand new MacBook, that might be 800, 1,000, 2,000 or more dollars, depending on how many bells and whistles you want on it. Now, fundamentally, both of those computers can connect you to the internet, allow you to do Zoom calls, allow you to do business, allow you to watch YouTube and whatever else you want to do that a laptop is required for. But why is it that a MacBook can demand a premium, whereas JT's mobile computer is only $200 or $300, right? It's the brand behind it. Of course, they can say we got this chip, that chip, whatever. But ultimately, you need to build a brand around it. So, I think your first asset that you should create out there is a book, right? a week from the time that you're listening to this episode, it's no reason why you shouldn't have a book. Even if you have 0 followers, let me tell you what your book should be, right? Write a book that will make you profitable locally. So, for example, if I'm in Atlanta, I would say, what's a big problem in Atlanta? Let's say, for example, Atlanta has a big problem with scams. So, what if I write the newcomer's guide to never being scammed in Atlanta, while whatever the thing is that gets a lot of people scammed, right? While renting a car, while starting a business, while doing whatever, right? So the newcomer's guide to not getting scammed while in Atlanta, or how to make $1 million legitimately in Atlanta, working for yourself from home without scamming, without robbing, without killing people, right? But and I'm just using Atlanta because everybody here heard of Atlanta, and it might be some stereotype that comes to mind when you think of that. But think about your area. I'm from Frog Leg, South Carolina, middle of nowhere. Population is 3,000 people. Medium household income 24,000 for a family of four. I can write how to make $100,000 a year. Let's not even do that. How to make $50,000 a year in Frog Leg, South Carolina. Now, is the whole world going to buy that book? Absolutely not. What's my pool of people? I got 3,000 people, right? That's the population. Now, certain people have moved away, so it's really bigger than that. But let's say it's approximately 3,000 people, right? All right, my goal is to get at least a 3% conversion rate, right? So I'm going to pull out my calculator here because I got a South Carolina education. So I got 3,000 people. 3% of those people is 90 people, right? So at what price point do I have to price this book to make the money that I want to make, right? So if I divide 90 people into $10,000, because that's the money that I want in order to start that business. So 10,000 divided by 90, I'm charging $111 in change, right? $112 for the book, right? Okay, nobody would buy my book for $112, JT, right? Okay, well, now you need to add a risk reversal. If you do everything I tell you to do in this book and you do not make $50,000 a year or whatever the promise is, I will give you a full money back guarantee, right?
Mm.
So now it's not a book, it's an investment,
Ooh.
because a book can be worth whatever you say it is. But how much is gold worth, right? How much is a house worth? How much is a business worth, right? So we have to analyze that a little bit differently than a book. So a book is just the package that we put it in, right? I don't care if somebody want to bring me $1 million in cash. I don't care if you put it in a toilet and bring it to me. Hopefully an unused one. But if you put $1 million in a toilet and bring it to me, I still want the $1 million, right? So the book is just the packaging, is just what's housing the value. So it doesn't limit the value of the $1 million. It doesn't limit the value of the $50,000 or whatever your promise is, right? And that's your job as a marketer. That's your job as a business owner. And check this out: you need 90 people out of 3,000 people, right? I'm no mathematician, but that means 2,910 people can call me crazy, stupid, a liar, a scammer, and say no, and I can still make $10,000 off of that book, right? And then let's say 10,000 is the seed money to do whatever business you want to do after that. So that's what I love about books, specifically self-help books. This doesn't work with children books and documentaries unless you're famous already. The data says you're 6 times more likely to be successful writing a self-help book than any other genre of book, right?
I
So
did not know that.
yep. You're 6 times more likely to be profitable writing a self-help book over any other genre of books. There's certain books out there
Wow.
that are just like you should never write unless you're already famous. So your autobiography, unless your story helps somebody get a result they want, don't do well. Uh Children's books, a lot of people want to write children's books because they think it's mostly images and it's pictures. Children's books sell well in bookstores. Online
Mm.
is usually unprofitable unless you're already bunch of followers, big name person. So a lot of people come to me and say, I got a children's book idea, right? How many followers you got? None. Okay, that's probably a bad idea. Right now, if your goal is to make money off the book, Now, if you just want to be historically correct and say I got a children's book that's out there, that's cool. But yeah, the data says self-help books for unknown authors, right? And not saying you a nobody, but if you're not famous, even in your niche, if you're an unknown author, you should write a self-help book. You're 6 times more likely to be successful than in any other genre.
Ooh, there we have it.
Yep, yep. So that's what I'm doing, man. Getting out of debt, writing books.
Now, what is it? Now, are you against debt for other people as well, or you're saying this is just your personal stance?
It's my personal stance, but also too, like my whole take on it is from a business perspective. I don't think that you should I don't think that you should get into debt if you don't know sales as a business person.
I
So
agree with that.
I
Yeah.
think there's nothing wrong. I look at debt as gasoline on a fire, right? But if you just pour gasoline on the ground, nothing happens. You just kill the grass, right? So I would say definitely before, and I'm somebody that even has a book that teaches people how to get funding up to 100 grand in 90 days. But
Mm.
I'm very clear telling people like, listen, this is a loan. This is debt. You have to be able to pay this back with interest. So you don't take this money and go buy a watch, a car, a penthouse, all of this other stuff. You take this money, you invest in assets. Because just jumping back to it too, right? So like we said earlier, in lean marketing explains that if you want to make money like the have-nots, make your money off of labor. If you want to make money like the have-a-yachts, make your money off of assets. What's a low cost asset we can create? A ebook. What's another low cost asset most people don't even think of as an asset? A proven paid ads campaign. Let's say
Mm.
you learn how to create some ad, whether it's a video or a still image, you know how to target people. And as long as you run that ad, let's say you spend $100 a day in ads, it could be $10, but whatever number you want to use, you spend $100 a day in ads, and that $100 a day kicks out $300. Well, guess what? Whatever you're selling, whether it's a book, people coming to your restaurant, clothes, or whatever, that now becomes an asset, not just for you, because you could plug and play similar products in that same marketing channel and print more money and scale it up. You can also sell that blueprint, right? So what I buy and what I sell to my mentees too is here's the sales funnel that made us $1 million. Right, here's the now customize it for your products and your language, but here's the exact products that in the system that we use to sell it that allowed us to make 100 grand this month, $1 million that year or more, or whatever the case may be. Right. So it doesn't happen all the time, but my whole thing is I rather start with something that has worked before than nothing at all and trying to figure it out. Right. And I think in
Mm.
the age of AI, this is the easiest time to change your life financially speaking. You got it easier than your mama, easier than your grandma had it. So don't expect to get the same sympathy that we gave Big Mama and Mama. We said, oh man, Big Mama was sweet. She did the best she could. Mama was sweet. She did the best she could. The best you can do now in the age of AI is 6 and 7 figures. A grown man can go make $300 or $400 today with zero followers. You can go to Amazon, Harbor Freight Tools, any hardware store, Walmart. Go get you a pressure washer. Go get you a lawnmower, and you start knocking on doors.
Mhm.
You
So,
get up.
JT,
Yep, go ahead.
is it fair to say if a healthy man will say between 20 and 55
Yep,
isn't making $300 a day and they have a decent IQ, it's
yep.
because they don't want it? Is that fair?
It's either ignorance or laziness. And ignorance, not even in a disrespectful way, they just don't know because in the real world, right? So we're talking in simplest terms so that way the audience can understand. So we're saying you make this, you sell it for $100, right? In actuality, you make this, you offer it to 1,000 people, and a percentage of those 1,000 people say yes, and you make so much money off of the percentage of yeses that the no's don't matter. So you ask 10,000 people next time, 20,000 people next time. So what is going to happen is the ignorance is I got the tangible part. I went and asked one person, they said no. I went and asked 10 people, they said no. I don't know anybody else to ask. Well, duh, you gonna get rich off of strangers before you get rich off the people that you know anyway. If you add up all of your close family members and friends and multiply that times the average cost of your product, that's probably not enough money to last you through the year anyway. Right? So, because I think if you sell $100 thing, you need like 10,000 sales to make $1 million. The average person don't got 10,000 close family members, 10,000 close friends. So you're gonna have to sell stuff to strangers anyway. So stop making decisions based off of who you know. Start making decisions based off of the market that you're in and the needs of that market. But for sure, ignorance or laziness are the only two reasons why an able-bodied man aged 20 to 55 isn't making at least $300 to $400. I would say if they're not making it every day, at least 3 to 4 times a week.
So at least $4,000 is your month.
Yep.
Fair game. All right. There you have it. If you ain't doing that, ignorance or you don't want it, and there's too much information out there now, you should write a book, JC,
Yeah.
JT, 50 businesses and services that are better than selling drugs.
Yep.
I think
Yep.
that would be a good one.
Yeah.
Everybody go follow JT, subscribe, comment below. Appreciate the game, brother. See you next
Oh,
week.
anytime. All right.
Peace.